All right, y'all. In today's episode of Big Goal Energy, this is one that you are going to feel in your body as much as in your mind. In the upcoming hour, I sit down with two absolutely magnetic women, Miss Cheryl Sutherland and Miss Kathryn Morrison, for a roundtable conversation all about how we cultivate magnetic success. We're going to dive into what it truly takes to become a magnet for your goals, your desires, and the opportunities you want to call in, but not through forcing or hustling. We are calling in these magnetic opportunities, goals, desires through intentional energy, aligned action, and leading ourselves to the goals, the destinations, the things that we most deeply desire. So you're going to hear us share our personal manifestation practices, the rituals that we use in our lives and businesses to stay magnetic, even on the hard days, and possibly most importantly, what each of us do when we're not feeling magnetic and how we navigate those moments with so much grace, but also so much strategy and so many systems. This episode ahead is not all about high vibes only. It's not about pretending that everything's perfect. This is about living your life, all of life, the highs, the lows, and everything in between, so that we can pursue our biggest goals and so that we can trust that we have the power to attract and create exactly what we desire. Even when, not if, notice I said when the path gets messy. This conversation, I sincerely hope, sparks something deep inside of you, or at the very least gives you some sort of new tool or perspective for your journey. If it does that, I would be so grateful for you to share this episode with a friend, someone who is also chasing big dreams and big goals. And of course, if you have not yet, please take a moment to leave a rating or review, because it helps Big Goal Energy grow and it helps us connect with all of the right humans and touch more lives. Let's jump into this absolutely magnetic, soul-fueling conversation. Make sure that you have a notebook handy because there are lots of great nuggets that you're going to want to take notes on. You were never meant for a small life. You have bold ideas, audacious dreams, and visions that keep you up at night. But the truth is, big goals don't come with step-by-step instruction. Success doesn't come from doing more. It comes from becoming more. Welcome to Big Goal Energy, a podcast for high-achieving women who are done shrinking, striving, and second-guessing, and are ready to defy reality in pursuit of the life they actually want. I'm your hostess, Bri Seeley, goal architect, subconscious strategist, and your permission slip to want what you want. Join me as we go beyond the surface level success to explore the mindset, identity, and inner work required to bring your biggest, most delulu goals to life. This is your space to be seen, to be expanded, and to remember that you are not alone on this journey. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Big Goal Energy. Bri Seeley here. I'm obsessed with the episode we're about to record, and we haven't even recorded it yet. The two women that are here with me are literally magic incarnate, and they are going to share some of their magic with you today, all around how to create more magnetic success in your life. So, everyone, please help me welcome Kathryn Morrison and Miss Cheryl Sutherland. Round of applause. Yay! Okay, before we dive in, I want each of you to just briefly, quickly introduce yourself and then also talk to me about what does magnetic success, what does that mean to you? And then obviously we'll go much, much, much deeper with it. But Miss Cheryl, do you want to start first?
Okay. So, hi, my name is Cheryl Sutherland. I've been like a big fan of Bri for forever. So you might have met me before. I am the founder of Please Notes Goods, and Please Notes is a line of affirmation-filled goods to help you become your favorite version of you. In addition to that, I do speaking, I do workshops, I do all the razzle dazzle. When I think about magnetic success, that feels like you in your zone of genius. and just letting things come to you. Yes, you are still putting forth effort, but when you are operating in the space of like, this is what I'm truly meant to be, things just fall into place for you. And it's just super juicy and delicious.
And I love that you're wearing your successful sweatshirt. Anyone who's just listening, Cheryl has affirmation-based sweatshirts. Mine says Delulu AF. She made it special for me. I did not wear it today because I did not bring it to travel with me, but she is wearing hers. So love it. All the success vibes.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Kathryn.
Hi, I'm a business mentor and real estate investor. I'm sort of anti-box, right? So in these things, it's like, which box are you in? So sometimes I'm like, I'm an intuitive business mentor, and that feels good for my Pisces sun, but my rising Capricorn is like, no. And then sometimes I go business strategist, and then sometimes that feels a little too Capricorny, and my Pisces feels left out. So we'll just say like an intuitive business strategist. I love energetics and strategy. On the topic of success, one thing I'll bring forward to sort of build on what Cheryl was saying was like understanding what success means to you, because it means something different to lots of different people. And having a sense of what that is like, is financials very important for you? Is recognition or fame very important? Like one of the things I've been really contemplating for my own path is like fame and wealth and how they are sometimes related, but not always.
Love it. And for those of you that don't yet know me, I'm Bri Seeley, the hostess of Big Goal Energy. I am a success strategist and I brainwash people for their success as a hypnotherapist as well. What I think of when I think of magnetic success is when I started this business 10 years ago, I started off teaching manifestation. And within about a year and a half, I got real burnt out around manifestation because what I learned over that time was I was like, it's not actually the red car that you want. It's not actually the husband that you want. It's not actually the profitable business that you want. It's who you become in the process that you're looking to achieve. It's an identity shift and it's an embodiment, because what you really want is how driving the red car down the freeway at 80 miles an hour with the top down feel. What you really want is how having a significant other in your life feels. And so when I think of magnetic success, I think immediately of that like embodiment, because when we can be it and we just are it, the world around us has no choice but to shift in alignment with that. Let's talk about what practices do you have in your life on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis to help you stay in that magnetic energy?
I would say, like, to your point of the identity and who you're going to become, I have a program called the Brand Alchemy Accelerator, which is that. It's like, how do you begin to embody that? One of the biggest tools that I teach inside of that is the aliveness board. Is basically like, to your point of like, you think you want the thing, right? And so then people are like, I want the red car, I want the thing. And they put a bunch of stuff on a board, which then puts them into lack energy. The aliveness board is basically like, can you make your energy made manifest? For instance, like this is an energy artist painted this, like this is my energy field. I'm always looking at how can I embody that energy, whether it is through something which is like more a Pinterest board. The aliveness board is more like colors, textures. It's more of a felt sense of how you will feel when you have that thing. I feel like rather than a vision board, which oftentimes then puts your mind into the focused, how do I get it? Having something that puts you into the feeling state. And another practice I would say I do fairly regularly is archetypal work, which archetypes are the embodiment of that version of myself that I'm really stepping into, and then tying in the five senses as much as possible to actually embody that archetype.
That's really fun. I know for myself, and this is probably going to come with no surprise, is journaling. That's one of my top selling items. And actually, one of the items I started my brand off with was a guided journal, because I know that when you start to take the time to connect your subconscious, superconscious, and conscious mind through the aspect and the practice, the tactile practice of writing, it just feels different. Like the thing that you're attempting to bring into fruition, taking the time to think about, what does it feel like to have that thing? What does it feel like to be that thing? Again, leaning to what Bri was talking about. If you're looking for a partner, what does it feel like to give and receive the love that you deserve? What does it feel like for you to shift and be into your receiving mode, whether that's in your feminine or your masculine? How do I operate in the world differently because this is where I'm living from? And I feel like that has done so much for me just in being grounded, being focused, and understanding that if it's already done, I don't need to worry about it. I just get the opportunity to continue acting as if. I also really love the practice of real life. I don't know how to say it is. It's like when you're imagining, like with your eyes open, just like, yeah, I'm in the kitchen. And if I'm like, again, attempting to draw on my boo thing, I'm like, yeah, I'm cooking something. And then he comes up behind me and kisses me on my neck. Like these are random little flashes that'll pop in. And this feeling of like being taken care of. I have this masculine energy around me. I can drop my shoulders. I could be more open. What does it feel like to have that thing that you desire? And then also understanding, like, do you feel like you deserve it? Because if you don't feel like you deserve it, you just end up doing a lot of really great work and then it just bouncing off.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. One of the things, in fact, I was just playing with this morning that I do to stay magnetic is I'm always looking for proof. And I look for proof in the teeniest, 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 tiniest ways. This morning, I went outside to pull the garbage in of the place that I'm staying, and I had picked a peony yesterday. They have peony bushes, and I cut one peony off and I put it in a little vase on my altar. And this morning, there were two more that had popped overnight, and I cut them and I brought them inside, and I was like, I just tripled my abundance. Like, holy shit, I just tripled my abundance today in 24 hours. Like, look at how easy that was. And that abundance just came to me, but also because I was paying attention and noticing that more blooms had popped on the bushes overnight.
Yeah.
Another time I've done this, all my clients know this story, is when I was living in LA, I found a Canadian penny on the ground and I picked it up and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because I always say the universe can't tell the difference between a penny and $1 million. So I pick up this Canadian penny like it's $1 million. Well, the next day I found an American penny. So I was like, I just doubled my abundance. The next day I find a dime and I'm like, I just 20x'd my abundance. And I shit you not, by the end of the week, I was walking out of one of my favorite Mexican restaurants on Sunset Boulevard, super busy space, open the doors to this thing. There's a crisp $20 bill that is just laying there parallel to like the door jamb, the valet guy, nowhere in sight, not a single person, the hostess, no one around, just a crisp $20 bill sitting there. And I was like, I created this because I celebrated that half of a penny. I love all these practices. What do you do on the days when you're not feeling?
I just
I
allow
mean-
myself to feel bad, right? Like I feel like there's this thing in the manifestation space where there's like you can get into a little bit of like toxic positivity or whatever. I mean, like spiritual bypassing, like there's so many different words to like describe this. But I feel like there are times where it's like bad things happen. And I think a really good question is, how do I want to feel about this? Right. And it's sort of just like, oh, like my son is feeling sad because something bad happened to school. Like, I want to feel bad about that. How do I feel about some things happening in the country right now? Oh, I actually choose to actively to feel bad about that. Doesn't mean I'm going to focus on it all the time. Right. But I feel like there is a space for allowing actual ache. And then also just understanding maybe from a broader lens, can you hold both emotions? I think about like when you're driving on a road, you can see in some spots it's like super sunny. And you can also see, I don't know if you guys have ever been on a road trip and experienced this, but like then there is like actually like rain clouds in the same sky. You can see those things happening. Right. And it's almost like making space for like, oh, right now I feel bad and like this too shall pass.
Or as Marianne Williamson says, the sky is always blue. Even though the clouds have rolled in here, getting ready to rain here, and above the clouds, the sky's still fucking blue, just because we can't see it in the moment. Cheryl, what do you do when you're not feeling magnetic?
So this is a fun one because I feel like one of the things I'm starting to respect more about myself is that it's not possible for me to be always on, and it's not fair for me to want that for myself. It's one of those things that like, I'm very good at doing a lot of things. I'm very good at pushing myself. But what if I just took a step back and just respecting the cycle? I'm very much a big Abraham Hicks fan. And so we've got like step one, step two, and then like, step one, like sometimes like you're always in this manifesting mode, you're attracting, you're allowing, you're like setting your intention, you're in the flow, all this other stuff. And then there's different steps where you're just like realizing and recognizing it. You might be a little bit more disconnected right now. And it's okay because you're coming back. My learning has been really centered around the fact that I don't have to do everything all the time and that there are other people, places, and things that are supporting me. Where I'm at is just understanding and recognizing that even if I'm actively not writing down my intentions this morning, or I'm not meditating this morning, or I'm just really taking a solid break, things are still always working out for me in the background. The universe is still universing. She knows what I want. She's like putting things into place for me. And I can kind of sit in that space of like, yeah, it's okay. And then I'll come back when I'm ready and it'll be even more magical.
Another thing that's like just coming forward to share is there is a degree of, is your heart open? When I think about manifestation, I feel like there's this big limiting belief you have to be super high vibe all the time that actually creates a lot of closure and people like not allowing like the full expression of things. But if you consider actually someone in grief, the really open heart, just like expressing grief is extremely magnetic. Even actually like someone in anger, right? Like if someone's in anger, but there's like a sacred rage, you can feel their heart is like deeply open. It does feel like what brings magnetism is your heart open. And if you can stay in an open heart in sadness, in grief, in anger, you can keep your heart open in those places. Actually, like there's the magnetism stays. It doesn't matter if it's like a quote unquote negative emotion because it's sort of like the heart is a Brita filter. It will just filter through everything. And I've just experienced that in my own life, just witnessing so many people in like quote unquote lower vibration emotions. If they have an open heart, it is extremely magnetic.
I love that perspective because it's true that when we're in resistance is when things really shut down. And even if we're resisting anger or resisting sadness or resisting grief is when the walls start coming up. And then we start feeling like, to Cheryl's point, that the universe isn't behind the scenes coordinating all the things for us. What you mentioned, Cheryl, has been a huge part of my 2025 so far. It's been a really difficult place to be. The beginning of this year has probably been one of the hardest years that I remember in a very long time. And then there's this, well, I should be happy. I'm a newlywed. I should be like, we kicked off our year this year with our honeymoon. Things are going well. I'm, for the most part, healthy, getting healthier by the day. And it's really interesting to witness when we are not feeling magnetic. To Kathryn's point, where am I closing off my heart? Where am I closing off myself to trust? Even this too, this isn't what I would have chosen, but even this too is supporting me and in divine perfection.
And that it's like the trusting piece, right? It's like either I am manifesting the outcome or I am manifesting something that will either like create a character trait in me. It's something, right? It's always like a useful thing to be like, oh, if this were happening for me, and I know sometimes it's like we can't get there, but it's like if this were happening for me, like why would that be? Like there was a time we actually haven't totally written it off, but I invested $50,000 in a real estate deal that like went sideways. It was very hard for me as it became clear that like that money was not coming back. And then I was like, oh, but like if this were happening for me, why is this happening? And is there something here that I created this was out of alignment? And I was able to see there were like certain red flags where I like overrode my intuition, right? Like it was like the deal was coming together really fast. Like, and I was like, oh, okay, so I've learned that like I need to actually be in touch with myself as I'm stepping into this. And then on the back end of that, I learned all the things that I didn't look at in the deal. I'm just a much better investor now because of that. In that moment, it doesn't feel like it's helpful at all. Why is the universe smiting me? But it's sort of like I think of the universe as a good parent. I think about this a lot because I have 3 kids. I actually don't want everything for my kids to be super easy and for everything to be handed to them on a silver platter. I want them to be people that can do incredible things in a dense 3D world that will like require them to actually go through some shit. If the universe is like a really incredible parent, are there things where it's like we are given things to go through that actually shape us into like a greater version of ourselves that sometimes it's hard to see in the moment?
Yeah. Before we hopped on this call, we pulled a card from Cheryl's Please Notes Good beautiful affirmation deck. It's card 27.
Oh, that's my
Is it
lucky
really?
number.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. It is an image of a woman kind of coming out of a shell. I was saying it reminds me of the birth of Venus from Botticelli. And the card says, healing comes through forgiveness. And Cheryl, you kind of shared your perspective. Obviously, you created this card, but you shared your perspective on what this card kind of brings up within you when you pull it.
Yeah, I think for most part, when I reference this card, it's either like there's an opportunity to either forgive somebody else or forgive yourself. But for me today, it was just like really around being nicer to myself and being kinder to myself and understanding that like releasing a lot of the pressure I put on myself is what's going to give me the results that I really want and the next steps that I want and be more beneficial than me riding my own ass all the time, for lack of a better word. There's just this level of like solace that just come over me ever since you pulled that card. So I'm very grateful that you did because like as I'm going through and I'm trying to figure things out and all of these different things, just reminding myself that like it's already done. So we can just be easy with things and come from the space of, okay, well, what feels good? What feels like play? What feels like joy? As we're creating, we are bringing that magnetic energy into it versus coming from a space of like lack or need or not enoughness that, tends to cover us a lot, especially as entrepreneurs with limited, well, quote unquote, limited time and limiting funding and just all of these demands on our.
If you're listening to this and thinking, I wish I had more people in my life who just get it, you're not alone. Big goal energy women are rare. We're the ones dreaming big, defying norms, and refusing to settle. And that is exactly why I created the Big Goal Energy app. But it's more than just an app. It's a community, a safe, supportive space where ambitious women like you and me can gather, grow, and go after our biggest goals without judgment. Inside, you'll find real-time conversations, powerful tools and resources, and exclusive content you won't get anywhere else. And yes, direct access to me to support you on your journey. Whether you're building, dreaming, shifting, or scaling, you don't have to do it alone. Come join us inside the Big Goal Energy app and surround yourself with women who dream as delulu as you do. Download the app now or visit briseeley.com/community to learn more. I love that you brought up pressure because in a lot of the personal development industry, there's this like pressure creates diamonds. We need pressure to form us into diamonds. But also pressure breaks shit. And I think that when we put pressure on ourselves, like, yeah, there are some moments that it can push us to do better things or push ourselves further than we would have otherwise. But I also think that a lot of this pressure that we put on ourselves actually cuts us off from magnetism. How has that been y'all's experiences?
I know when I first started my business, I was very much still running it as if I was a employee. And even just like the things that I would put in place and expectations of myself. And it just all felt really rigid. It felt very quote unquote masculine and not that great. And so ended up reading this book and it was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And I'm so grateful for that book because I think it was at the specific chapter when she speaks about seducing creativity and the things that you get to do to allow it to come in because that's how you're going to be successful. That's what's really allowed me to recognize that I have great ideas. I'm great at execution. However, I get the opportunity to set up the space to make sure that I'm receiving in the highest vibration, in the highest place, and doing things from that space of flow versus force. And that's been very, very key to the success that I've created so far.
Love it.
I think it's the ability to be flexible and to understand what playbook comes forward at what time. There have been times in my life where like pressure has actually been really helpful for me. Like there was a time when I was first starting my business and I remember rather than focus on building my business, I kept thinking about going and getting a job. And then I like made this decision. I was like, no, like to decide is to cut. That's literally the root of the word is like to cut off all other options. I deleted everything. So I could have rebuilt it. right? But I felt that actually created a ton of pressure because it brought up all of the subconscious resistance of like that I didn't want to face, of like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think any of this is possible for me. And at that point, this is what I would say is like it created a period of aggressive healing because it was like, if I'm going to be really nice and honoring to myself and I'm not going to be mean to myself about any of this, it means I have to actually look at all, like it was a lot. It was like many boxes came up from my subconscious to deal with. And that sort of came forward. And then there have been some times where it's like with my kids, it's like focused and holding them to be accountable for certain things. And there's other times they just need a hug. And I feel like in our relationship with ourselves, pressure inherently I don't think is bad. I feel like it's got a more masculine energy. It's like a Papa Saturn, like focused, directed, like chop wood, carry water energy. And I don't think that that kind of pressure is bad. I think pressure from you are not good enough is never healthy. But I do feel like pressure in terms of like deadlines and timelines and expectations and like raising standards for yourself can be like a really healthy process.
I feel
Makes
like
sense.
definitely in the earlier days of this business, I was much more in the rigidity as well. And I was very good at having deadlines and having structure. And now I don't know if it's just this rebel within me or if it's just getting older or if it's just being in the industry
Yeah.
for so long. I just want none of it. I was journaling the other day around, I just want to be in the 5D, high vibe, manifesting, ideation, energy. And I don't want to have to build sales pages. It's almost like having the ideas and having the inspiration and having those things right now is where I'm lighting up. And then coming back to the 3D is just, I mean, we know it's slowing down. 3D is the densest form. Yeah.
Very
And I'm
dense.
just like, can I just go float in the ethers forever and not have to come back here and do the human thing? That would be great.
Humaning is so like 2022. Like, why are we
I
even doing
mean,
this? I love what you said about that because it reminds me so much of this last trip. I just came back from the Caribbean again. And I'm just really in the space of I'm just ready to be semi-retired. And I feel like I'm already kind of there because I am more doing the things that I want to do versus what some people anticipate what work should be, with doing a lot of like I should do versus I get to do. I am just really in the space of wanting to stay in more flow. And I recognize what my version of success has changed. Before it used to be pressure, 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 pressure. And that pop of relief is what I felt success was. And I never really owned the things that I did. It's just like, cool, I'm off to chase the next thing where I can experience that pressure and experience that pop. But now my version of success is like how little I can do. How many naps can I take? I think I feel like wearing sweatpants today. You know what? I'm going to go for a walk outside because it's sunny. Being able to like say yes to my intuition, that level of freedom versus relief is what success looks like to
Ooh.
me now.
That's a great distinction. Where do you think that idea of relief as success came from? Because I'm really curious about this. I actually think that most high achievers are high achievers because of trauma,
Oh yeah. 100%.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's like I need external validation and that makes me worthy. And so the pressure comes from sort of what I was saying, right? Like pressure is not healthy if it's from lack, right? But that is actually how high achievers basically push themselves is I am not good enough until this. They'll have a pattern of they set a goal and then they feel awful and then they achieve it. And then they goalpost. Anybody else
Moves.
that
Yep.
always moves immediately?
100%.
To Cheryl's point of like, you just at a certain point just have to be like, what game am I playing? Who set up this game? Do I like that this is the game that I'm playing? And what do I want like the structure of the game to be? And I think it's very interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs get into business for the feeling of freedom. And then they think that like the money will make them free, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
right. Cheryl, I'm curious, did you sit down and be like, something has to change? Was this like a purposeful, I'm redefining success, or has this just kind of like unfolded for you?
I think I asked for it to change. And usually when I ask God, the universe for things, and she's just like, okay, cool, like we'll work on it. And then slowly, it's like when we used to like to drink often. And then now you're older, you're just like, you know what? I could take it or leave it. Like, give me a seltzer, right? I feel like it's like that. Like I kind of just lost the taste for it. But then I'm also recognizing that a lot of the people I love in my life continually say like, oh, Cheryl, you're so busy. Or like, thanks for taking the time out for me. I know you're so busy. And I'm just like, my family and my friends and the people I care about are my number one priority. So it kind of feels like I'm failing myself or I'm failing them when their perception is like, Cheryl's always going to be too busy for me. And that just definitely hurts at a different level because that's not what I want. I wanted to do this so that I can give to the people that I care about. And it feels kind of like I'm taking away from them. But also when I'm thinking about, again, what that success looks like, there's, again, a lot of ease, a lot of flow. I'm spending time with my family. I'm spending time with my partner. I'm investing in projects and like nonprofits and things that I'm very excited about. But is this version of life that I'm living supportive of this version of life? Can I flow into it quite quickly? Am I living that? And it's not that. So I'm definitely doing myself a disservice by living in this pressure cooker because the meat's already tenderized, girl. And then so now that like I'm flavorful and delicious, meat is falling off the bone.
It's like a
I
slow
get
cooker.
to,
Or what's the sous vide?
yes,
What's the
yeah,
other one? The sous vide. Yeah, it's like one
sous
of
vide.
those. Much
Yeah. I've been boiling in this bag,
higher
girl.
level meats.
Yes, right. Like the oxtail is cooked. Let's just go on to the next step of enjoying
I
this
love you.
delicious meal. And I think that's where I get to be is like, now I'm hungry, is to enjoy the meal that I've created because
Yeah.
we've done
Yeah.
enough.
I ask all this too. I feel like, and I've talked to several friends about this. In fact, some of us were joking about doing a podcast episode about this. I feel like I'm having like a midlife crisis, but like an entrepreneurial midlife crisis around, is this it?
Mhm.
I'm not going out and buying a Ferrari,
Yeah.
right? But if
Yeah.
this is the next 42 years of my life, am I going to wake up at 84 and say, yeah, it was fucking worth it? And yes, I am satisfied with what I created for my life. And as of right now, I'm like, the answer would be no. I ask if it's I asked if
Mhm.
it was purposeful because like I am actively right now. Part of the reason I'm in Arkansas for 2 weeks was to like get the fuck out of my everyday shit, to be able to open up to a new perspective and just be able to explore what is my next 42 years of success look like and how do I engage with it and interact with it and what's the experience while I'm doing it? Because I think, again, to all of our points,
Mhm.
we're so focused on that end destination that we're willing to sacrifice how we feel on the journey for the end destination. But then we get there and it still feels like shit. And then we just keep on going, feeling like shit all the time.
Mhm. And
I feel
I
like a lot of the online space, like, I mean, especially there was like a certain period where it was like social media got really fast and like everything had to be like this. And I feel like that lent itself towards a very certain style of like Alex Hormozy, post 800 times a day, like push yourself. And women are not built. I mean, also I'm like a manifestor in human design. We could have that whole conversation. Like some people are not built for that as like the texture of
Yeah.
their life. It does sort of beg the question of like, I love Cheryl's point about like, if my family perceives me as too busy, yes, we have our purpose, our dharma, and there's a certain thing that we feel like we want to bring forward. But there's also a lot of different ways that we can bring that forward. It's actually kind of interesting to your point, like when you're talking about your thing, I've been thinking about like fame versus wealth for a little while because as I'm scaling, I'm just like, what game am I playing? And do I like this game I'm building? I'm like building this machine. I'm building this board of all of these offers and all of these people coming in. And then there's like this whole other stream on the other side where it's like, I just know people and I have private real estate investment deals. And I'm like, there's such different textures. Which one makes me happy and which one makes me feel fulfilled? And I don't think it's always the same answer at once. And so I think it's sort of zooming out, Bri, to your point of like, how will I feel at I guess you said 42 years. Maybe that's not the end of your life, right? But like, how will I feel like what do I want at the end? And to go to your deathbed and to be like, what will I be sad if I didn't create? And then also to understand seasons. Because I think another thing is like, at least right now, I'm a mom of 3 kids. Like, I want to have a lot of time for them. And so there's certain things for me where it's like, I could do more real estate to have that just be passive income that's coming in and then grow the business slower, very intentionally. I think it's sort of just understanding the mix of my ultimate dream as a retreat center. So I can see how they're going to merge together. But going to the end of your life and being like, would I be happy if this is it? And then what is this season asking of me? Is this season asking for me to slow down and go in? I feel like what we're kind of speaking to is the creation style of an artist, which is very much like if you look at how many artists create, it's a lot of up and out energy. Musicians, sometimes you don't see them for years. And then they just like drop the next album and there's like a lot of down and in energy. There's this pressure sometimes I think for like online business owners to be on, which doesn't allow, especially when we're talking about from a more manifestational place, that's creation codes. It is creation like an artist, not like I mean, I love Alex Hormozy, actually. I think he's very smart, but like that style and your process with it. And so then it's determining, well, what do I want in my business? Do I have offers that are always just sort of like running and bringing in consistent revenue that don't require me to be always on? Do I have another revenue stream that's going to hold me? Like, what does that look like so that I can actually just be a human and allow everything that I want? Like when I look at 42 years from now, Bri, what is it? Like, what's the thing? Is there a creative project? Is there a book in you? Like, what is that thing that like wants to come out? And then I think just the permission to like slow down is, I feel like a theme right now that's
And I
coming
don't know,
up, right?
Cheryl, what year did you start your business again?
Well, actually, funny that you say that. So in
Okay.
November, it's going to be 10 years. And yeah, I've been grinding and I feel very proud of what I've done for these past 10 years. And is it where I want it to be? Do I need to add on like easier products? Was the conversation that I've been having? Like, is it more about making money? Because I've already made the impact that I've wanted to make. I'm going to still do both. But now the priority is like money in my pocket. And how do I do that? How do I do that effectively? And feeling really good about
having
it
so
too.
many conversations with so many individuals. Kathryn, what year did you start your business?
I was like, it was right at COVID. It was, yeah. So
Okay.
five
Like 4 years,
I started
5 years?
mine in 2015 as well, Cheryl. So I just hit my 10-year anniversary and it's
Happy anniversary.
10 years and 1 month, still kicking. Huzzah. Yeah, it's interesting because my last business that I had for 8 years and then the universe was like, shut it down. And I do not feel like the universe is guiding me to shut this down, but there's definitely a conversation around how I've been engaged in success and in my magnetism and the trauma around overworking. I know that we are coming up on time and the end of our episode. I would just love a closing thought from each of you around magnetism, around success, around how you kind of approach this, or if you have any tips for the listener.
There's always an angle of joy. There's always an angle. There's always like a glimmer of something, even when it looks like a big pile of poo, right? So it's sort of like if you are in something like right now, like really living in the question, and there's like actually like something that's like a little bit pleasurable about like, oh, I get to slow down. Maybe it's not normal for my nervous system, but to like sit down and like be with this. There's pleasure here even in hard lessons or my kid crying and like hurting. And I'm just like, oh, this hurts me so much, but there's actually something where I feel most connected to you, right? Like there's always access points to that feeling and that magnetism, whether it's a hard situation, whether you're feeling confused and you don't know what's going on, right? And can you, even in those moments, find a way to actually feel the enjoyment, like that there's not fully, right? I think going back to like the clouds and how the sky is always blue, but there's going to be a moment where Bri's going to tell a story like 5 years from now where like this sitting with this question brings forward some amazing pivot or like, I don't know, it's like The Greatest Showman. You like watch the movie, like we don't actually want the movie to always be super rainbows and butterflies. Like we actually want to see the character go through some things and like allowing ourselves to be like, oh, like we're all on a path and recognizing that I can find, if I can live it with joy in the journey,
So good.
you will always
that
find the next
what
step.
you just said is why I recommend every single entrepreneur read The Alchemist. That book, I read it once a
Oh,
year
yeah.
because I'm like, that journey piece is just so
Yeah.
poignant. And I always think about like, is this the part where I'm in the China shop for 3 years? Like, is this that part of the book? Or anyways, Cheryl, any last thoughts?
I know for myself, I feel like, and this conversation has really brought this up in a very tangible way. So I'm so grateful to be here. Is the decision. Do you and have you made the decision that you are in fact successful? If you've made that decision, then everything else is taken care of and the universe is listening to you. If you've decided that the thing that you want is in fact the thing that you want and it's already yours, awesome. The universe is supporting you in that way. And to stay focused on having that and being that and owning that and embodying that and letting that be the only version of life that you are choosing to manifest, that you are choosing to bring in. However, again, things might not look the way that you think that they should look. Things might go slightly different and slightly awry in comparison to what you think your path is going to be. It does not matter because you are already successful. It is already done. Living in that space of no matter what the outside look like, that end result that you've decided is happening is already completed. So like, will I add on new products? Will I bring on new staff? Will I decide to like shift my company? Will I make more content? Like this is the thing that I feel like I'm here to share with people and just allowing that to be true because everybody outside of yourself is seeing you in this way. And now it's this opportunity for you to finally say, this is in fact I am. Success is in fact who I am.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you both for like the personal therapy session today because I got so much out of this conversation.
Right? I know.
Same. Well, thank you both so much. Before we wrap, if you can just quickly tell everyone where to find you, Kathryn.
KathrynMorrisonCoaching.com. Kathryn Morrison Coaching on Instagram. It's kind of hard to mess that up. I'm sure we'll send it to you. Also, I can send people, you mentioning the thing around high achievers. I have a freebie called Manifestation for High Achievers. It's an audio training. So I'll make sure to get you the link if people are interested in like listening to how that process is different for
Love it.
people.
And Cheryl, where do we find you?
I'm all over the internet. You can find me underneath my government name, which is Cheryl, Chatryl, Sutherland, supereasy.com. Pleasenotes.com for any products as well. And also like connect with me on LinkedIn. We could be buddies there. But one of the things I would love to also leave you with is I do have this service. Every month you get different journaling prompts, and then you also get an affirmation track from yours truly. And in doing so, that helps you make your practice of like going internal a little bit easier and get into the practice of connecting with your intuition and your inner knowing.
Thank you for listening. If this inspired you, please feel free to send it to a friend. Make sure you're subscribed to Big Goal Energy and don't forget to join us on the Big Goal Energy app. I am dropping secret podcast episodes periodically now that you cannot get anywhere else. If you go to your app store, Big Goal Energy, look for it. You'll find it. Thank you for joining us today. Big hugs, and we'll see you in the next episode. If this episode lit something up in you, share it. Text it to a friend, post it to your stories, or leave a review because Big Goal Energy is meant to be felt far and wide. And if you're ready to go deeper, explore the tools, hypnosis sessions, and support because your vision deserves more than hustle, join us on the Big Goal Energy app by visiting your app store and typing in Big Goal Energy. Your vision, your goals deserve alignment, ease, and your fullest self behind them. Until next time, trust yourself, dream bigger, and never forget, you are here for greatness.